I'm talking to Peter Taylor, who's author of Leading Successful PMOs and also known as the Lazy Project Manager. Peter, PMOs are a pretty hot topic around organisations across the world. Most surveys seem to show a steady rise in investment in PMOs, and there are plenty of executives who think, I need a PMO and I need it today. That sounds like pretty good news, or is there another side?
Well, I'd say it's good news and bad news. You're right. The PMI Pulse report recently, the PwC report, many reports are showing an increase in PMOs. That's a great thing. The trouble is the executives don't necessarily understand what they want or what they mean by a PMO. So it's a good thing in the sense that there is an increased interest in PMOs. But the danger is that they will launch into this without any real planning or understanding of what a PMO can do and should do for their own organisation, and that's the concern.
Right, okay. I mean, it's interesting you say that they're a bit confused about what a PMO actually is, because the acronym PMO on its own is a bit confusing.
Absolutely, yeah. The PMO, Portfolio Management Office, Project Management Office, Program Management Office, the joke being projects mostly over budget, there's another one. There are many confusing. I mean, it's kind of good that there is at least one term which people talk about it, because it's confusing with many terms. The trouble is people don't really understand what it means. I've been to many conferences and I can guarantee at the coffee breaks that's the conversation they'll be having. The fact that is, what does your PMO do? What does your PMO do? What do we mean by PMO is a common question, even in the most mature organisations.
Yeah, I mean, in those three contexts, so project, program, and portfolio, do you feel that there's a particular application that's better than others? Does it work in one of those environments better than in the others?
Oh, the sort of the insights I got for the Leading Successful PMOs book came around, I think, getting the balance right. It's a balance between people and process. Therefore, it has to be project-based and therefore focused on the projects and the project managers. Absolutely. I don't think it can be successful without that. But equally, for a PMO to be truly successful, it has to understand and take ownership of the portfolio of activities. Now, programs to one side. Programs can be inside a PMO, or a program can be significant enough to have its own PMO. So let's put that one to one side. But I think it's a combination of portfolio and project ownership that makes a PMO successful, and then linking that to strategic intentions of the organisation. So many PMOs are not connected that way.
Sure. I mean, it looks like a great concept on paper, and we've talked about all these executives who are really enthusiastic about having a PMO. But I know that in the past, a number of PMOs have found it quite hard to sustain themselves after the initial excitement's worn off. Is that still a problem in PMOs?
Yes, it is still. Whilst there is an increase, there is a continued increase in PMOs being cancelled, removed, whatever. The challenge I found is that if the PMO is not, it's like anything, if it's not supported at the right level to start with, then it's not going to work. So it needs the executive support, sponsorship. But equally, it needs to be quite quickly connected to the strategic intentions of the organisation. If you've got a departmental PMO, it might be doing a good job for the project community, but it's not really connected to what the business is trying to achieve through its project-based activity. Many organisations suffer from having too many projects. I think everybody accepts that. So a PMO key role will be advising and giving input and guidance on the projects that are entering the portfolio for the business. And then overseeing that successful delivery of those projects inside the portfolio. So, for a PMO to have any sustainability beyond, I think the average lifetime at the moment is around 3 to 4 years for a PMO. For it to have any longevity beyond that, it has to be truly connected to the strategic activity of the business.
Right. So you're suggesting something that's really integrated across portfolio, program, and project.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of leadership, what kind of person is best suited to lead a PMO?
Well, one of the challenges for a PMO is it's not off the shelf at this point in time. We're not into the second generation of PMO leaders really. It's the fact that every PMO is different, and every PMO has to have a leader to deal with that situation. We'll go back to the executive that suddenly read something somewhere or met someone at a conference that PMO is the next best thing. Oh, I need one for my business, clearly. Right, I'm going to put someone in charge of it. Well, I uncovered in the research for the book that definitely if you pick a manager for a PMO who does not have a project-based background or experience, it is more than likely going to fail. Because they don't have that affinity with projects. Projects are not business as usual. I also found that these leaders, these successful managers, have to be independent people. They have to be self-managing, because, as I said, they're not taking over a job for anybody. They are inventing a role inside an organisation. They also have to be strong negotiators. They've got to find a place for the PMO inside the organisation. PMOs can be a little bit threatening sometimes to organisations, other departments.
Sure.
Suddenly there's this, it's the executive's new special project almost inside. They're putting money into this. There seem to be some influential people involved in it. There's a good budget. What's going on? Is this a threat to my department? That's a concern.
Yes.
So also they have to be leaders, have to really understand change and great communication.
Right.
Now, if they come from a project-based background, then you'd hope they'd be pretty good communicators.
Yes.
And they obviously should be, the custodians of change anyway.
Yes.
The last thing is they just don't have to be afraid to be unique.
Sure.
Every PMO has to be slightly different for the business at this point in time that it's operating in.
Yeah.
And be flexible for change.
I can see what you say about them being quite political, and I think that's interesting in terms of the relationship between the PMO and the project teams. I could imagine that some project teams are very happy to trumpet their success and the success of the project, and then if there are shortcomings or failings, they can offload those on the PMO. Is that a risk for PMO?
Yeah, there was some insight I got from that. There's kind of a love-hate relationship with the PMO. But in general terms, when you break down the sort of, I did a survey for the book, and the project managers themselves generally said that what they saw was having a PMO made projects more successful. Quality was higher, success rates were higher, processes were more rigorously deployed and adhered to. So from a business point of view, from a project point of view, great news. They were a little bit more concerned about from their own point of view. It's kind of, again, it's that people-process balance. It's the balanced PMO, getting it right. So I think there's a bit of a lag there. I think organisations need to begin to invest more into the project managers themselves, demonstrate that their careers, their opportunities are going to be greater under a PMO, and time will tell. I believe that will be the case.
And how can a PMO